everybody, and welcome back to the third and final part of the British Bungalow Build with me, Simskey. Today we're going to be focusing on the 4 bedrooms plus the wardrobe of the master suite and bathrooms, and also the games room, cinema room and sauna. So a lot to cover yet again, but at least we're getting to the end now. I've absolutely enjoyed building this bungalow, it has to be said, and although it turned out to be a lot bigger than I anticipated to start off with, I think it's turned out really well. So here we are in the master suite at the moment. I went with a black and white theme throughout. To start off with, I left the wallpaper white, and I did that because one of the hardest things I find with doing the bedrooms is trying to get your bed to match the different furniture that you want to go in there. So I like to focus on that first and then find the wallpaper afterwards, because that can often be quite a bit easier to find. You'll see at the minute that there's a TV at the end of the bed. That doesn't actually end up staying. It ended up looking far too cramped having it there, and realistically your Sims can't even watch TV that easily when they're in bed anyway. So it made more sense to move that out and have this futon at the end of the bed instead. Some of the items that are in this collection are from the Get Famous expansion pack. I believe the bed itself, I'm trying to think of what pack that one came with. It was one of the previous packs. I'm not sure if it was City Living or if it was Seasons. It's something along those lines of where the bed itself came from. In the wardrobe, which I think I'm moving on to now, it was the Get Famous wardrobes that I used in here, as well as the shoe cabinet. I also did use some items from the Vintage Glamour Stuff pack, as for example this makeup table that's going in now, because I really quite like using that for the Sims. I think it looks brilliant for the dressing room for a master suite as well. Those items that have gone onto it, I believe, are from the Parent Hub pack, and a Get Famous rug is going in the middle there. You'll notice that I end up putting in these shoe cabinets right next to the dressing table, and I did that because this works really well and it doesn't clip in together, so you don't see any hard edges when you're playing the game. It just works smoothly, so it looks quite nice and neat and means all that the walls are covered, which realistically, if you had that wardrobe, is exactly what you'd want it to be like anyway. So I left the wallpaper in this room white because there was no need to change it. It seemed silly to be wasting my time adding wallpaper to something that you can hardly even see anyway. Again, those laundry hampers have gone into every room. You'll notice there's one even in the wardrobe. I just wanted to cover all bases and make sure that nothing was going to be missed in here. The master suite itself is actually quite a large room, so it does have its own chest of drawers in there, and I think I end up moving this rug down a little bit and adding a chair, and I think also I add a cat scratching surface, and that's because, again, I wanted to make sure that we included all of the packs in this build. If you would though like to see me just do a build based on one particular pack, or if it was just on base game that you're after, then please do let me know and I will try to accommodate for that. You can let me know in the comments down below. Yeah, pet bed's going in. I'm just debating on where to sit it there, and it ends up sitting in the middle just between the sofa and chairs that we built last time. So there you go, there's a little cat area going in, because if it's anything like my dogs that I've got, they like to spend time with us in the bedroom as well, so I would imagine that cats are exactly the same. I can't say I've had one myself, but you know. So I added that in. I also had a little chair into the corner. I think I used the Get Famous one in that as well. Yeah, that's going in now. And I think I had a few more plants yet as well. I don't like to try and use the same plants all the time. You know, like I had two different corners there, and I could have used the same plant in both corners, but to me that seems silly, and so I just end up using two different ones. I end up doing a feature wall in this room, so you'll see that the three of them end up staying completely white and have the pictures on the empty spaces, whereas that back wall ends up being that uh, black and white themed wallpaper that's on the background there. I think it ends up looking quite smart. Again, this is a large bathroom, so it was a bit of a debate because even if you had the bath and the shower in there very separately, as well as all of your toilet and basins and things, you've still got an awful lot of space. And so I decided that they would have their own private hot tub. Bit luxurious, I know, but I thought, well, why not? We might as well get it in. So that's what's going to be going in now. I always try to put the toilets as close up to a wall as I can because I always think it looks better when you've got the toilet paper holder right at the side of it. Don't ask me why, it just seems to look better than when it's on the wall behind. I always think about how well you're going to be able to reach it. I do think in this one though I end up allowing it to be on the wall, which is unusual for me. You can see why I tried to put it in the corner to start off with. It just ended up looking a lot neater this way round. Dressing gowns going in up on the wall. Trying to get that to match the theme of the room again. The toothbrush holder is actually quite hard to place because it's another one of those that won't just automatically go and sit on the sink, and you sort of think, well, why do we even have one then? If they don't want it to sit on the sink, then, you know, what's the point to it? So you do have to use the cheat there, the move object on, to be able to make that come up. So if you were to place this build, which you can find it on the gallery at Simskey 7 or follow the details in the description below, then you will need to have move objects on when you place it. If you don't, then it can just mess it up and make it look wrong. And some of the items may just look like they've gone missing. So again, I'm covering all the walls in here again. Making sure we've got our towel rails in there. I do end up putting a few pictures in as well and a mirror above the sinks. I quite like giving both the sinks that are in this bathroom their own separate towel. I mean, I know if it was me, I'd want my own separate towel. Not sure that I put a rug in on this one. I can't quite remember. We'll see in a moment, but no, we move on to the girls' bedrooms. That tells me that I didn't put a rug in that bathroom. Now, I didn't record the making of the bathroom in between the girls. Well, this is a girls' bedroom and the toddler boys' bedroom, but it is a shared one. So I did it in a blue and a pink theme. So it's blue and pink throughout, and I think there was a hint of green in there as well, so that you could totally see that they've got their own little areas that they can use. The girls' bedroom, I tried to make it so that there wasn't too many toys in there. You see, they've got their own playroom, which you'll see us decorate very shortly. And so I thought that the bedrooms themselves ought to be a place where it might be about going and studying a little bit, but it's also about going to sleep, and that is the main aim of this bedroom. They have got their own wardrobes. Every room has its own wardrobe. So I didn't need to put that in, but I did put a chest of drawers in this room. Yeah, I end up changing those cabinets over to the one that relates to the pets theme, because it made more sense when I looked at the shade of pink that I wanted to use. I ended up going with this bubble wallpaper as well, because it just looked a lot nicer and a lot more girly, I thought, for a child. I think when they get older, obviously this room would definitely have to change. It couldn't stay the same for when they're a teenager, but I think for a girl, I think this is the perfect room for them, and I think any girl would love it, to be honest. I do end up changing the wallpaper on that back wall behind the bed, and I make it a plain pink, which is the same shade as that in the wallpaper on the other three walls. And I do that because I wanted to get in a few pictures and things like that above the bed, but to be able to do that properly, it was going to end up blending in with the wallpaper, because the wallpaper is a main feature in its own right. So I wanted to make sure that these other items end up becoming the focus in here. So this is where I all of a sudden put something on the wall and go, oh, this is too much, and so I start trying to figure out what am I going to do there. That decal holding the nightlight is something that I'd seen in one of Deli's builds quite a long time ago, and it's something that I've really liked doing ever since I've seen it, so shout out to Deli there. Yeah, this is me trying to decide, do I want to have it that blue or do I want to have it the pink, but it was going to be whether I could find the matching pink, but luckily I was able to. So I end up adding a few things onto this wall. I end up adding in some butterflies, I think, either side of the bed. They are light up ones. I debated on putting those pictures there because they look like they're hand drawn by a child, but I do end up moving those to the other side of the room. Yeah, I end up putting it over there with the desk because it looks like then they've been doing some artwork and they've put it up on their wall. This is where I was debating on putting these photographs in on this back wall, and then I decided that'd be something more that I would expect a teenager to have in their bedroom rather than a child. It just didn't feel like it fit well with the theme. So I end up going with some butterflies instead, which I think is what I'm actually searching for now. There you go, that's these butterflies that I'm talking about, which I think make it look quite pretty. So I did put a few toys in there, but again, nothing major. I think I end up putting like a cuddly toy in there and things, and that's about it. Again, keeping it minimised because they've got that playroom, so it just didn't make sense to have things in more than one area. I can see it being that the actual Sims only really use this room for sleeping and possibly doing some homework. Honestly, if I was a child, I would love this room. So now moving on to the boys' bedroom, I believe. And I decided to go with the racing car theme for the boys' bedroom as well. That last item that you saw me put into the girls' bedroom does end up getting removed before I do the screenshots, and it's because when I looked at it, it ended up feeling really cramped in there. So yeah, now we're moving on to the boys' bedroom. So I end up going with this racing car, and it's got the nice matching shells, which I put up on the wall as well. I think I go with the red car and the blue. There you go. Although you might not see it in the actual building process, I later realised I didn't put anything on those shelves, so I go back and put a couple of the boys related lamps. And what I also did in this room was something quite different, and that was making sort of like a road in this room. Now at the moment I know I'm using concrete, but I do end up changing it to like a black carpet. So I make it go to all of the different doors that are in the room, including the wardrobe as well, and making it look like there's a little intersection in between. I do use the grass, but I pretend in my own mind that that's more like a carpet sort of thing, with the idea of making this seem like you are on a racing track, and that's why the bed's there. I use some model cars on the floor as well. The Sims are not likely, I don't think, to clear them away. I know when it comes to toys, they can have a tendency to move them, but because they're model cars, don't think they will. But we'll soon see. So this is from the Spa Day pack, and it's just one of those lights that's for the floor. But I use that to make like the centre of the road. These lines are going in at the moment. I'm resizing them a bit, trying to figure it out, but I do end up changing them slightly. I'm not sure if I saw this idea for the car track somewhere on the gallery, so if I did and it was yours, then I apologise, but I honestly can't remember. It would have been so long ago. But either way, I was really pleased with how this room turned out. See, this is where I'm just changing it round and making that square into like a junction. So I end up doing the 4 and then I make it like a grid, like you can't enter sort of thing. Which is something that we have in the UK. You will notice when I put in the model cars that they are all as if you are left-hand drive. You can switch that round if you are not from the UK, but obviously I am, so I'm left-hand driver, so I put them in that way. So I used this bookcase because I thought it matched the theme quite well, because obviously we're trying to make this quite an outdoor theme, so that bookcase fit in quite nicely. I do end up making the wallpaper blue in here as well, so it looks like the sky. Those boxes I thought fit in quite well, and it would look as if it was storage for a toddler. But with it being green and then having the multicolours, I thought it was quite nice. So these are those model cars that I'm talking about going in. I'm just trying to find all the different ones, so you might see me searching for a minute or so. I get in a big mixture of as much as I can and try to use all the different colours. Trying to show that they're at the intersection, and your sim can walk around these. I have tested that. This one I did have to size up. I don't think they'll put that away. I'm hoping they won't. So I do put in a couple of cuddly toys in here. That's natural for a kid's bedroom. I went with blues and greens to match the rest of the room. And these curtains as well match the theme quite nicely because it looks like you're outside. So there you go, there's the blue themed wallpaper going in. I did debate on using a slightly different wallpaper with it being the 2 tones, but it didn't quite work. It's a shame really that we don't have one that's a combination of blue and green, otherwise it would have fitted in well. But I do put all these decals up on the wall, so we have trees, we have clouds, we have balloons, that sort of thing. And I use the fluffy cloud lights as well to match in with the theme. I do put some animals in there. I thought they were quite nice, coming from the cats and dogs pack. Oh, and I put in one of these size charts. I love the idea of being able to measure your toddler as they grow. So this room does look quite simple in some respects. There's not too much on the floor. Apart from these toys. So I make it look like the toy box is there, so that's why the cars are out. So there are a few more toys in this one in comparison to the child's bedroom. But again, nothing dramatic. It was just so that the main ones were in the playroom. So this is a spare bedroom at the end of the hall. I go with this green theme throughout because it has the matching rug and the matching curtains, which I think is quite nice. I do wish the Sims 4 designers would actually do more themes like this. It's quite natural for us to all go with a matching theme curtain, wallpaper, bedspread and rug, and you can often pick those up in different places in the UK. I would imagine it's the same elsewhere as well, so I'm surprised that the Sims 4 team haven't considered that when they're making their content, although I can imagine it'd be quite hard for them. I'm not saying they're not doing an amazing job as they are, they certainly are. So yeah, I end up finding the right green for this, and I end up doing the green throughout. So I keep this room quite simple. Don't try and overcomplicate it. The idea that it is a guest bedroom. You could obviously change this to being another child's room or a teenager's room, whatever it might be, but it does have its own ensuite bathroom. It's quite a long bathroom here. Again, I didn't record me decorating that room. I thought the video was going to be long enough as it was. But it has all the contents in, just like all the other bathrooms do as well. I thought this divider matched the theme quite well. And here we are, just trying to choose some of the different pictures to put on the wall for it. So there you go, that's that one done. So now we're on to the playroom. Now for a while you'll see that this wallpaper stays up, but I do end up changing it to a more discreet theme. I didn't feel like it matched the build in its own right, particularly with how the living room is. So I end up going for a much subtler childlike theme. And I use one of the rugs, which I think is from the toddler stuff pack, although I'd have to check. Which you'll see how I do that in a moment. At the minute what I'm doing is just chucking a load of things out that I really want to get into the room, and so then I can decide where I'm going to place it all. So this is why I didn't put all of this in the child and toddler bedroom, as they're already in here anyway, so it didn't feel like I needed to have them in a second time. The toddler does have a potty which is in the bedroom that is for the two children. So this is where I'm just debating on what the layout should be, but when I find the rug, which I should pull out any time, it ends up moving around so that it matches it. And one way or another, everything that you see in here now does fit into the room. I don't think I add much more into the room other than what you see here though. So there you go, I'll go with this one. Can you see that it's got 3 paths that lead around? So I try to utilise them into how I lay out the room. So I make it like there's a path up to the doll's house, there's a path up to the pantomime bit, and there's a path up to the chemistry lab. And then I put the few extra bits around it. So again, I've gone with these cloud lights. I absolutely loved them for all the children's style rooms. And as I said before, I changed the wallpaper to be much subtler to this one. So that's me just trying to match up the colours and making sure it looks right. Teddy bear going in as well. I know that one of the aspirations for the children is to play with more than 3 toys, so you'll definitely have the amount they need to be able to complete that goal. I tried to think of all the different items that you could possibly want. And again, I've used these drawers again. I really love these for all the kiddie type rooms. So that's where I'm using these pictures. I've tried to do different coloured frames throughout. And again, these ones look like drawings, so they're just an ideal one to place on the wall. So I've kept it quite simple again. Again, because this is an outdoor theme, those curtains have gone back up again. So I know it seems like I've got them in a couple of the rooms, but they just work. So I debated on putting this one in, but I don't know if anybody else's graphics look the same. But that picture always looks a bit pixelated to me. It never quite looks right, and so I always end up deleting it as soon as I put it in. So this is where I've got this big room that I had a big decision as to what to do with it. And I wanted to include like a cinema type room, because although we've got the one TV in the house, having that extra one to be able to watch movies on with that popcorn machine that we'd put in the kitchen just made sense. So I ended up actually dividing this room into 3 separate rooms, as you'll see in a moment. So this first one that I'm working on is the cinema room. I ended up using the Get Famous chairs. I really do love this pack, as you can tell, for their items, to put in different chairs for the movie to be able to be watched. And I go with quite a glittery wallpaper in here in the end. That's me realising that I've forgotten one of the pets things that I need to have in the build. So I think this is where I'm searching through to decide what items is it that I actually want to include. And I think it's now that I come across the sauna and go, ooh, we could get that in there. Oh yeah, we have a dartboard too. I had to budge that tree along because it was clipping into the wall. Can't stand things clipping in. So there you go, that's that sauna. So I end up breaking that off into its own room. That little square becomes a bit redundant. And I put a new door onto the cinema room as well. The debate here was where to put the darts board, because although I wanted to include it, it was a question of how to place it so that your Sims would be able to play it. I think it ends up staying where it is placed now, and I did test and your Sims can use it. So the sauna room ends up staying really rather basic. I don't think I put anything on the walls, I just leave it how it is. Whereas in this room I end up altering the wallpaper, and I also add a lot of pictures onto the walls of different cinema related movie posters. I thought this flooring, this wooden flooring, really suited the rest of the room with it being dark. And I also tried not to add too many lights into this room, because obviously with it being like a movie theatre type room, you don't want to have it too bright. So this is where I'm just debating on these posters. These ones you're seeing going up now, I don't think quite stay. I'm going to end up altering those slightly to the bigger ones. Yeah, so that's where I'm starting to realise, oh, hang on a minute, we've got these work better. And I put a few of those in. Because I wanted to include some of the main ones, I think I do chop out a couple. But I do also put some more of these movie posters up into the games room that is going on here. So it would be that you walk through the games room to be able to get to that movie theatre and to that sauna. Oh yeah, the dartboard ends up moving across. So this one's quite simple. I didn't add too many items because it's only limited space. But I make sure that you get your foosball table, the games table, dartboard, and the gaming simulation thing that's there. I can't remember what wallpaper I ended up going with. I'm about to reshuffle this round because it didn't quite sit right. It was getting that dartboard in the right place that was proving quite challenging. And also making it so that your Sims would have enough room to walk around. The foosball table is fully usable, I've tested it. I think I ended up deleting one of those doors to be able to fit the dartboard in, if I remember right. Yeah, this is me just still having that debate, and so I end up moving it over there, so it's well out the way. Again, another laundry basket going in, we can't forget those. I think this is actually where I'm going around and checking that every room's actually got one. yeah, I think every room ends up having one in the end. It was easy to remember to put them into bathrooms, but trying to remember to put them in places like living rooms and things proved to be a nightmare. But I really cannot stand having laundry just kicking about the house. It's quite interesting though, because I don't ever actually get round to using the washing machine. I end up letting it pile up and then eventually go, oh, I'm going to have to do that. It's a bit like real life, really. So there you go, I'm adding a few more movie posters around this room as well, just because it seemed to fit in with that games and cinema theme that I've got going on. So it's just a few posters going in. You can resize those by using the brackets keys. Red light, tie it all together. Okay, the last area that we're going to be looking at is the back garden. Now, I didn't record me just making a few alterations to the front garden, but you will see, you will have seen those in the screenshots from the second part. So just here I'm making a barbecue area, and I also ensure that there's loads of seating there as well. So I had a couple of counters in, because the one thing with the barbecue is it's alright having the barbecue there, but unless I've got a counter to work on, some parts of the barbecuing seems to go a little bit awry. So I made sure I added those in. I must admit, we've been building like an outdoor type kitchen in our own back garden at the moment, so it gave me a little bit of inspiration for the back garden here. I must admit, I'm not, out of the whole build, I'm not 100% happy with this back garden. The decking area that you see me do here is fine. I end up doing a section off to the left which is more like a gardening sort of area, and I'm happy with that, but then the rest of the garden I'm not quite as happy with it. So if you end up downloading this and you decide to change the back garden, I will honestly not be offended, but if you do it, then please let me know, because I want to know what you did differently to me. So again, I've tried to make sure that all of these different skill building things are in there. So I made sure you got a florist table. I do end up adding in a woodworking table as well. And I do end up adding in a little kids paddling pool in here as well. I don't know if I do this immediately or if I do that in a little while. So I think this is where I'm starting to realise, this garden's a bit big. But I start to make this like farming area. So I add in the sprinklers so that you could plant things in to the actual ground itself. I do end up adding in some seed packs. If you don't want them, you can delete them with pleasure. But I've just added them in there for ease, so you can see what it is that I was doing. So I end up separating this little area off and just having an archway through to it, so that then I could make it so that the flooring was like a dirt ground, because obviously if you're planting in that area it is going to be more soil than it is this grass that you've got there at the moment, but that doesn't mean that you'd want that in the rest of the garden. So I thought sectioning it off was the best way to achieve that. So I think this is where I end up moving the florist table over. I'm just adding a few gardening bits out there. But I do end up moving the florist table over, and I add in some of these bits from the Seasons pack, which related to gardening as well. Just added them up against the fence so that they were out of the way but yet still there. And I add in that one, I think I add in the sort of wheelbarrow effect one as well. And the reason I did it on that line, and you're going to think, why is she stuck so rigidly to it? And it's because you've got enough room around each of your sprinklers for 9 plants to be able to be placed. Well, that's great, but then you've got that one line where the wheelbarrow ends up going that doesn't have sprinklers attached to it. So I added them in there so that it filled in the space but also didn't interfere with your planting. So this is me thinking that, hang on, if we're going to be having this as all plants orientated, then we might as well add in a few extra bits to make it look like you were doing something with the things that you were growing. I think this is where I'm trying to find that wheelbarrow that I spotted earlier. I find it. So yeah, don't think I'm mad. You can move those around if you wish to, but I put those on those lines so that you could keep your plants growing where you wanted them to and still be covered by the water sprinklers. So yeah, I moved the florist table over and I place a woodworking table up on there instead. So now with the rest of the garden, I think in some ways it may have been better if I'd have had an outdoor pool as well, but I don't. I end up focusing this on the children's sort of play area. So they end up with a pirate ship, we get the toddler stuff. I know a lot of people are against that ball pit, but I honestly don't mind it, especially since I know when it first came out it was very flat and so it looked kind of strange when you got a child in it, but now since they've added those bits of 3D effect to it, I think it's much better, so I honestly don't have an issue with it, and I quite enjoy seeing the toddlers play with that equipment, so I've included it in there. I do add in a little path that leads through to the gardening area as well. This is where I'm just adding in a load of different varieties of seeds. So because I did have the unlock all cheat enabled, it meant that you could get some of the rare ones in there as well. But again, feel free to delete those if you want to. Make it so that your gameplay is from the beginning only. Oh yeah, we add in a basketball court as well. So it means you've got all the different activities that are available, apart from an ice skating rink and roller rink. So I think this is where I'm just trying to make sure that the layout looks okay and isn't overlapping with anything. But I do end up adding in a little bit of a path, which is what I'm about to do now. So I'll probably do adjust things slightly again. Yeah, I don't think the back garden turned out too bad, it's just not ideal. So here we are into the screenshots. So we start off with the playroom and the games room. This is our cinema room, which I think turned out really nicely. Our sauna. So this is your master suite. I'm really happy with that one. And its ensuite bathroom. I didn't think this one looked overcrowded either. I was really pleased with it. And there's your walk-in closet. And that's the hallway just outside the children's bedroom. So you can see their study nook. This is a children's bathroom. It's just that pink and blue theme that I mentioned earlier. Child's bedroom. Toddler bedroom. I love that room. I'm so pleased with how that turned out. It's my favourite room in the whole house. There's your guest bedroom. And their ensuite. What's behind that is just another bath and shower. There's your outdoor planting area. Oh, I didn't put a roof on. Sorry about that, guys. But that is the outdoor area. And that's what the layout looks like overall. So I really hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you for watching, everybody. If you've liked the video, please like and subscribe. I'll see you again soon with another video.